Habemus Papam. The eternal city pulses under a twilight sky, Rome's ancient stones glowing with divine promise. At 1807, the world gasped as white smoke billowed from the Sistine Chapel's chimney, the fumata bianca proclaiming a new era. We have a pope, Robert Francis Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV. From Chicago, USA, with deep ties to Peru, he steps into the sacred role of Peter's successor, the shepherd of 1.3 billion Catholics. This is a historic moment. The first American pope, a new chapter for the church, unfolding now in a city draped in white and gold. Buckle up, because you're witnessing a day that will echo through time. Picture Rome at its most breathtaking, the Colosseum's weathered arches bathed in the soft glow of dusk, whispering tales of martyrs who died for their faith centuries ago. The Roman Forum's crumbling ruins standing sentinel to a history of emperors and apostles who shaped the world. Basilicas like Santa Maria Maggiore and San Giovanni in Laterano, gleaming under a sky streaked with amber and violet, their domes reflecting the fading light like celestial crowns. Cobblestone streets, worn smooth by the footsteps of countless pilgrims over millennia, shimmer like a mosaic of devotion, each stone a silent witness to prayers and promises. The Tiber River, winding through the city, catches the twilight in its glassy surface, rippling with reflections of ancient bridges and golden lights. The air carries the faint hum of anticipation, as if Rome itself knows it is the stage for a moment that will resonate across the globe. The Vatican, adorned in brilliant white and gold, stands as a masterpiece of sacred majesty. Bernini's colonnades, designed to embrace the faithful like the arms of the church, stretch wide, their travertine stone glowing warmly in the evening light. St. Peter's Basilica, its towering dome piercing the Roman sky, looms as a beacon of faith, serene yet powerful, ready to welcome its new shepherd. The basilica's facade, with its intricate mosaics and statues of saints, Peter, Paul, and the apostles, gleams softly, as if the very building is alive with the weight of history unfolding within its walls. White banners, symbolizing peace, purity, and a new beginning, drape every corner, fluttering gently in the evening breeze. Gold threads weave through the decorations like rays of divine light, evoking God's eternal grace and the radiant hope of this historic day. The air crackles with anticipation as flags from every nation, Latin America's vibrant reds and blues, Africa's intricate greens and golds, Asia's bright yellows and whites, flutter in sync. Peter's Square, a vibrant testament to the Church's universal reach, a kaleidoscope of cultures united in faith. The moment the white smoke rose at 1807, Rome erupted in cheers, the signal that the conclave had chosen a new pope after days of prayer and deliberation inside the Sistine Chapel. Pilgrims in St. Peter's Square, their eyes fixed on the small chimney atop the chapel, shouted with joy, their voices rising like a wave of gratitude that swept across the cobblestones. Some fell to their knees, tears streaming down their faces, whispering prayers of thanksgiving in Italian, Spanish, and Tagalog. Others embraced strangers, their laughter mingling with the crowd's roar, a shared celebration of hope. Church bells across the city, from the deep, resonant tolls of St. Peter's to the lighter chimes of Trastevere's quaint chapels, began to peal in unison, their joyous tones weaving a symphony that lifted Rome's soul to the heavens. The fumata bianca, a tradition dating back to the early 20th century, marked the culmination of a sacred process, a sign that the Holy Spirit had guided the 120 cardinals in their vote, requiring a two-thirds majority to elect the new pontiff. Now the world celebrates the election of Robert Prevost, a man whose journey from the streets of Chicago to the mission fields of Peru to the halls of the Vatican has prepared him to lead the Church into a new era. Every detail of this historic day has been meticulously crafted to reflect the solemnity and joy of the occasion. The Swiss Guard, resplendent in their iconic blue, red, and yellow uniforms, stand watch with solemn dignity, their halberds glinting in the evening light like polished silver. Their presence, a tradition since 1506, symbolizes the protection of the papacy. Their striped uniforms a nod to Renaissance artistry attributed to Michelangelo himself. The Sistine Choir, their voices honed to carry the sacred melodies of Palestrina and Gregorian chant, rehearse hymns that will soon fill St. Peter's Square with celestial harmony, their notes rising like a prayer to the heavens. The scent of frankincense wafts through the air, mingling with the fragrance of fresh roses, lilies, and orchids that adorn altars, pathways, and the grand steps leading to the basilica. Florists from across Italy have worked tirelessly through the night, their hands weaving garlands and arranging bouquets that transform the Vatican into a living garden of devotion, each petal a testament to the beauty of this moment. The atmosphere is electric, a shared heartbeat uniting Rome and the world beyond as billions tune in, from New York's neon-lit streets to Kenya's rural chapels, to witness the rise of Pope Leo XIV, the first American to hold this sacred office, announced after the white smoke's triumphant rise at 1807. In St. Peter's Square, a sea of pilgrims gathers, a vibrant mosaic of humanity bound by a shared faith that transcends borders. Maria, a schoolteacher from Mexico, clutches her rosary, her fingers trembling as she prays for a pope who will embody compassion, her heart racing since the white smoke appeared. Beside her stands Kwame, a student from Ghana, who traveled days across dusty roads to be here, hoping for a leader who will champion justice, his eyes still misty from the fumata bianca. Aisha, a nurse from Indonesia, holds a small wooden cross, dreaming of a church that embraces all, her excitement palpable as she recalls the moment the smoke rose. Families hoist children onto their shoulders, the little ones waving miniature flags and giggling, unaware of the smoke's profound significance, but caught in the infectious joy of the crowd. Priests in simple black cassocks mingle with laypeople dressed in colorful traditional attire. Nigerian agbadas with intricate embroidery, Mexican huipiles adorned with floral patterns, Indian saris shimmering in gold, Polynesian leis fragrant with hibiscus, creating a living testament to the Church's universal reach, a tapestry of cultures woven together by a common belief. Their journeys to Rome are stories of sacrifice, faith, and unwavering devotion, each one a thread in the fabric of this historic day. Elena, a grandmother from Peru, sold her handmade textiles to fund her pilgrimage, carrying a faded photo of her late husband, who loved the church and dreamed of visiting the Vatican. "When the smoke rose at 1807, I felt him with me," she says, her voice trembling as tears well in her eyes. Ravi, a young engineer from India, took a week's leave from his job in Mumbai, inspired by the church's outreach to the poor in his community. "The fumata bianca was a sign of hope for the forgotten," he shares, his voice steady with conviction. Sophia, a teenager from Poland, traveled with her parish youth group, her journal filled with prayers for peace that she scribbled as the white smoke appeared, her heart swelling with pride for the global church. A group of nuns from Brazil, their habits a simple gray, sing softly in Portuguese, their voices blending with the murmurs of the crowd in a gentle hymn of praise. A father from Japan, dressed in a traditional kimono, holds a handmade sign that reads, "Peace be with us," his quiet smile reflecting a universal longing. This isn't just a gathering, it's a global family, united by faith, their excitement ignited by the white smoke at 1807 and the announcement of Pope Leo XIV, a leader whose American roots and Peruvian ties resonate with their diverse stories. The moment of announcement unfolds with breathtaking drama, a scene etched into the collective memory of all who witness it. The heavy velvet curtains on the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica part, slowly revealing a group of figures dressed in crimson and white, their silhouettes framed against the golden glow of the basilica's interior. A hush falls over the square, so profound that the flutter of flags and the soft cooing of pigeons are the only sounds. The Cardinal Protodeacon, his voice steady yet charged with emotion, steps forward to the edge of the balcony, his words echoing across the cobblestones and into the hearts of billions watching worldwide. Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum, Habemus Papam. I announce to you a great joy, we have a Pope, he proclaims Robert Francis Prevost, who has taken the name Pope Leo XIV, honoring the legacy of Leo XIII, a pope known for his social teachings, and the square erupts in a tidal wave of cheers that shakes Rome's ancient stones. Flags wave wildly in a frenzy of color, tears flow freely down weathered cheeks, and strangers embrace as if they've known each other for lifetimes, their joy amplified by the memory of the white smoke that signaled this moment at 1807. This isn't just news, it's a global awakening, a moment that binds humanity and hope, a testament to the power of faith to unite across continents and cultures. In Chicago, Prevost's hometown, celebrations explode with an energy that mirrors the city's vibrant spirit. Church bells ring out across the city, from the historic Holy Name Cathedral in the Loop to smaller parishes in neighborhoods like Little Village and Pilsen, where the Italian-American and Hispanic communities Prevost grew up among gather in joyous Thanksgiving. Families spill into the streets, sharing meals of deep dish pizza and tamales, their laughter echoing through the autumn air as they light candles in honor of their native son. The white smoke's appearance at 1807 triggered nationwide pride, with banners of white and gold unfurling across the city skyline from the Willis Tower to the shores of Lake Michigan. In Peru, where Prevost served for over 2 decades and holds citizenship, the reaction is equally fervent. In Chiclayo, where he was bishop from 1998 to 2014, parishes overflow with Thanksgiving masses, the scent of incense mingling with the earthy aroma of pachamanca as communities feast in celebration. In Trujillo, where he led an Augustinian seminary, streets fill with processions, children carrying images of the Virgin Mary and St. Augustine, Prevost's patron, as they sing hymns in Spanish and Quechua. Across the globe, the impact of Pope Leo XIV's election ripples outward, touching every continent in a wave of shared hope. In New York, screens in Times Square flash the news, commuters pausing to watch as the words, "First American Pope," scroll across in bold letters. In Nairobi, Kenya, youth dance in the streets outside churches, their voices raised in Swahili hymns, celebrating a pope who understands the global south through his work in Peru. In Manila, Philippines, parishes overflow with worshipers, many of whom stayed up late to watch the 1807 smoke, their prayers now answered with a leader who bridges the Americas. Social media ignites with the hashtag #Habemus Papam, trending worldwide as millions share prayers, memes, and reflections in countless languages: English, Spanish, Tagalog, Swahili, Hindi, many referencing the 1807 fumata bianca as a divine sign of renewal. The papacy's embrace of an American with deep Latin American ties signals a universal church, its heart beating in every culture, every voice, a powerful message that the church belongs to all humanity. Inside St. Peter's Basilica, a solemn and majestic ceremony unfolds, weaving ancient traditions with the aspirations of a modern world, a fitting culmination of the day that began with the white smoke at 1807. Beneath Michelangelo's grand dome, a masterpiece of Renaissance architecture that has witnessed centuries of papal transitions, Pope Leo XIV kneels in humility before the high altar, accepting the immense responsibility of his role as the 266th successor of St. Peter. The air is thick with the scent of frankincense, its smoky tendrils curling upward like a prayer, while the soft glow of hundreds of candles illuminates the intricate mosaics and marble columns, casting a warm golden light across the scene. The faint echo of footsteps on the polished marble floor mingles with the rustle of silk vestments as cardinals and bishops prepare for the sacred rites, their movements deliberate and reverent. The basilica, a sacred space that has stood since the 16th century, hums with the weight of history, its walls bearing witness to the triumphs and trials of the Church through the ages. One of the most poignant moments of the ceremony is the presentation of the Fisherman's Ring, a powerful emblem that links each pope to St. Peter, the Church's first shepherd. Crafted with simple elegance, the ring bears the image of Peter casting his nets, a reminder of the Pope's apostolic mission to be a fisher of men. As it is gently placed on Pope Leo XIV's finger, the moment is rich with symbolism, an affirmation of continuity, responsibility, and faith that spans over 2,000 years, from a humble fisherman in Galilee to a global leader in Rome. The crowd watching on giant screens outside the basilica gasps softly, feeling the weight of this gesture, their emotions still raw from the 1807 smoke that heralded this new era. Next comes the papal pallium, a narrow band of white wool embroidered with black crosses, symbolizing the Pope's role as a shepherd carrying the lost sheep. Woven from the wool of lambs blessed on the feast of St. Agnes, it is draped over his shoulders, its ends hanging down, connecting him to the Church's ancient roots and its call to care for the vulnerable. These rituals, passed down through centuries, remind all present of the deep bond between the pontiff and the people he serves, grounding the Church in tradition while opening it to the possibilities of renewal. The ceremony continues with the presentation of the papal tiara, a crown with 3 tiers symbolizing the Pope's roles as spiritual father, teacher of truth, and servant leader. Though simpler than the ornate tiaras of the past, its significance remains profound. A reminder that his authority is not worldly but rooted in service to God and humanity. As the tiara is placed on his head, the Sistine Choir's voices rise in a soaring rendition of Tu es Petrus, You Are Peter, the ancient hymn celebrating the Church's foundation on Peter's faith. The music fills the basilica, its notes climbing to the heavens, stirring the hearts of all who hear it. The harmony of the choir, blending male and female voices, embodies the Church's call to unity, a chorus of diverse voices joined in praise, a fitting soundtrack for a pope whose life has bridged continents and cultures. The Mass that follows is a masterpiece of liturgical beauty, blending the timeless with the contemporary in a way that reflects Pope Leo XIV's own journey. Latin chants, their melodies echoing the Church's ancient roots, intertwine with hymns in Spanish, English, and Italian, languages that have shaped Prevost's life through his American upbringing, Peruvian ministry, and Vatican service. Cardinals, bishops, and priests from every continent can celebrate, their colorful vestments, crimson, violet, and gold, a visual reminder of the Church's diversity, from the cathedrals of Europe to the mission chapels of Africa. The readings, proclaimed in multiple languages, speak of God's call to service and the promise of hope. The first reading from the book of Isaiah tells of a servant who will bring justice to the nations, a prophecy that resonates with Prevost's lifelong commitment to the poor. The Gospel from Matthew recounts Jesus' charge to Peter to feed his sheep, a direct call to the new pope to care for the global flock. In his homily, Pope Leo XIV speaks with a clarity and warmth that immediately endears him to the faithful, his voice carrying the weight of his 69 years of experience and the gentleness of a pastor who has walked with the marginalized. He urges humility and outreach to the poor, drawing on a memory from his time in Peru, where he once celebrated Mass in a shantytown outside Chiclayo, sharing a simple meal of arroz con pollo with families living in makeshift homes. Faith is love in action, he says, his words echoing the teachings of his predecessor, Pope Francis, while adding his own perspective shaped by years in the global South. We are called to be a church that walks with the poor, that listens to the cry of the earth, and that builds bridges where there are walls. His homily, delivered with a sincerity that transcends language barriers, sets the tone for a papacy rooted in mercy, justice, and encounter. A message that resonates deeply with the crowd still buzzing from the 1807 fumata bianca. The Mass concludes with the singing of the Te Deum, a hymn of praise that fills the basilica with triumphant joy. The organ's deep notes reverberate through the stone walls, and the choir's voices soar, creating a sound that seems to shake the heavens themselves. As the final notes fade, Pope Leo XIV processes to the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, where he appears for the first time as Pope to the world. Dressed in his white papal vestments with the red and gold mozzetta draped over his shoulders and the simple gold pectoral cross resting against his chest, he raises his hands in a gesture of blessing. His face, framed by short graying hair, bears a serene smile, his deep-set eyes reflecting a quiet strength and a profound sense of responsibility. He offers his first apostolic blessing, Urbi et Orbi, to the city and the world, and the crowd below erupts in applause, their hearts lifted by the promise of a new era. They chant, "Leo, Leo," their voices echoing off the ancient stones, their fervor rooted in the white smoke at 1807 and the hope this new pope inspires. Pope Leo XIV is a leader uniquely suited for this moment in the Church's history. Born Robert Francis Prevost on September 14, 1955 in Chicago, Illinois, he grew up in a working-class neighborhood, the son of a family with Italian, French, and Spanish ancestry. His father worked as a mechanic, and his mother, a homemaker, was known for her cooking, often hosting local priests for meals of pasta and empanadas, fostering young Robert's early connection to the church. He joined the Order of St. Augustine at 19, drawn to the order's emphasis on community and service, and was ordained a priest in 1982. His missionary spirit led him to Peru, where he served for over 2 decades, first in Trujillo as a seminary rector and later as Bishop of Chiclayo from 1998 to 2014. During his time in Peru, he became a naturalized citizen, immersing himself in the culture, learning Spanish and some Quechua, and walking with the poor through natural disasters like the 2007 earthquake that devastated the region. His work earned him the nickname Padre Roberto, a beloved pastor who celebrated Mass in remote villages and advocated for better education and healthcare for the marginalized. In 2014, Pope Francis called him to Rome, appointing him bishop and later prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops, a role that gave him global influence as he vetted and appointed bishops worldwide. In 2023, Francis elevated him to cardinal, recognizing his pastoral heart and administrative acumen. Now, as Pope Leo XIV, Prevost brings a balanced perspective to the papacy. Known for his commitment to the poor and migrants, he aligns with Francis's vision of a poor church for the poor, yet he is seen as a centrist on doctrinal issues, supporting traditional teachings like opposing women's ordination as deacons while advocating for greater inclusion of marginalized groups such as migrants and indigenous communities. His first words as Pope, calling for unity, humility, and a church that goes to the peripheries, inspire hope, his serene smile and warm demeanor connecting with the people. He'll lead not just with authority, but with heart, guiding the church through division, secularism, and global crises like poverty, climate change, and migration. The global response to Pope Leo XIV's election is overwhelming, a testament to the universal appeal of this historic moment. In Chicago, celebrations sparked by the 1807 smoke continue late into the night, with masses and processions filling the city. Holy Name Cathedral hosts a special Mass, its Gothic arches illuminated by candlelight as worshipers sing Amazing Grace, a nod to Prevost's American roots. In neighborhoods like Pilsen, Hispanic families, many of whom share Prevost's love for Peru, create altars adorned with marigolds and photos of the new pope, their prayers blending English and Spanish in a harmonious chorus. In Peru, the joy is palpable. In Chiclayo, where Prevost served as bishop, the cathedral plaza overflows with thousands, their voices raised in alabanzas as they dance to Andean flutes and drums. In Trujillo, where he once taught seminarians, the Augustinian community he led gathers for a vigil, their prayers echoing through the colonial streets. Rural villages in the Andes where Prevost once walked dirt paths to bring the Eucharist to isolated communities, light bonfires in celebration, their glow visible against the starlit mountains. Globally, the reaction is equally profound, reflecting the Church's universal reach. In Tokyo, Japan, parishes hold prayer vigils, their tatami mat chapels filled with the scent of cedar as worshipers kneel in gratitude for a pope who understands the global south. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, families create altars with flowers and candles, their children drawing pictures of the new pope inspired by his connection to Latin America. In Lagos, Nigeria, youth organized community outreach in Pope Leo XIV's honor, distributing food to the poor in a gesture that echoes his own ministry. Major media outlets from CNN to BBC to Al Jazeera analyzed the implications of the first American pope, with headlines proclaiming a new voice for the Church and the Pope of the Americas. On X, Cardinal Habemus Papam trends worldwide, with posts in dozens of languages sharing prayers, memes, and reflections on the 1807 fumata bianca, many noting the symbolic timing as a sign of divine renewal. Scholars and faith leaders weigh in, recognizing the historic significance of this election. Dr. Elena Martinez, a theologian from the University of Notre Dame, notes, Pope Leo XIV's election marks a turning point for the Church. His American background, combined with his deep roots in Peru, reflects the growing influence of the Global South, where the majority of Catholics now live. Father James Okoye, a Vatican expert based in Nairobi, adds, Prevost brings a fresh perspective, one that will challenge the Church to be a beacon of hope in a divided world, especially on issues like migration and climate justice. Their words resonate across global media, amplified by platforms like X and broadcast on networks worldwide, underscoring the message that the Church is not bound by one region or culture, but belongs to all humanity. The election of Pope Leo XIV, an American with Peruvian citizenship, is a bold step toward a more inclusive Church, one that listens to the voices of the marginalized and embraces the richness of its global family. The significance of this moment extends beyond the Catholic faithful, touching the broader world in profound ways. World leaders issue statements of congratulations, recognizing the Pope's role as a moral voice in global affairs. The President of the United States, in a historic gesture, calls Pope Leo XIV a bridge between nations, noting his potential to foster dialogue on issues like migration, a topic close to Prevost's heart from his years in Peru. The President of Peru, where Prevost is a citizen, declares a national day of celebration, citing his contributions to the nation's spiritual and social life. Interfaith leaders, including prominent Muslim and Jewish figures, express hope for continued dialogue, inspired by Prevost's history of outreach to diverse communities during his time in Chiclayo. Even those outside the Church feel the ripple effects, as the election sparks conversations about faith, leadership, and the search for meaning in a world often marked by division and uncertainty. This is a moment that transcends religion, inviting all to reflect on the values that unite humanity: compassion, justice, and hope. The Church faces complex challenges as Pope Leo XIV begins his papacy, and his unique background positions him to address them with both wisdom and empathy. Internal debates on social issues such as the role of women in the Church and the inclusion of LGBTQ+ Catholics continue to divide the faithful, with progressive voices calling for reform and traditionalists urging adherence to doctrine. Prevost, known as a centrist, will need to navigate these tensions, balancing his inclusive pastoral approach with the Church's teachings. Secularism, particularly in Europe and North America, has led to declining church attendance, while persecution of Christians in regions like the Middle East and parts of Africa demands a strong moral voice. Global crises, such as climate change, threaten vulnerable communities from the Amazon to the Pacific Islands, calling for a renewed commitment to environmental justice, an issue Prevost witnessed firsthand in Peru's arid regions. Migration, a cause he championed as bishop, remains a pressing concern, with millions displaced by conflict, poverty, and climate disasters seeking refuge and dignity. Pope Leo XIV, with his experience in both the Global South and the Vatican, is poised to respond to these challenges with a leadership style that blends pastoral care with administrative skill. His years in Peru, where he worked with indigenous communities and advocated for the poor during natural disasters, give him a deep understanding of the struggles facing the developing world, from food insecurity to lack of education. His role as prefect of the dicastery for bishops honed his ability to lead a global institution, appointing bishops who reflect the Church's mission of mercy and justice. His call for a culture of encounter, a theme he emphasized in his homily, invites Catholics to engage with the world with openness, building bridges across divides of faith, culture, and ideology. His upcoming encyclical, rumored to focus on the theme of hope in a fractured world, is eagerly awaited by theologians and faithful alike, promising to chart a path forward for a church that seeks to be a light in the darkness. His leadership will likely draw on the influences that have shaped his life: the Augustinian spirituality of community and service, the social teachings of the Church that prioritize the poor, and the example of Pope Francis, whose emphasis on mercy and the peripheries deeply impacted Prevost during his years in Rome. In Peru, he ministered to communities devastated by earthquakes and floods, celebrating Mass in makeshift chapels and helping rebuild schools, experiences that will inform his papacy's focus on resilience and solidarity. His writings as a bishop, often published in local Peruvian journals, emphasize the joy of the gospel and the power of encounter, themes that will likely define his pontificate. His approachable demeanor, marked by a warm smile and a willingness to listen, will connect with people from the pews to the peripheries, making the Church a welcoming home for all. This is more than a transition. It's a new era for the Catholic Church, a bridge between tradition and tomorrow, between the global North and South, between the past and the future. The Vatican, with its frescoes, marble halls, and fragrant gardens, beats with a new voice, a voice from Chicago and Peru, a voice that speaks with the accent of the Americas. Pope Leo XIV's rise, announced by the White Smoke in 1807, inspires the world, showing that humble leadership, rooted in service and love, can transform hearts and nations. His story, from a working-class neighborhood in Chicago to the mission fields of Peru to the throne of St. Peter, resonates as a testament to the power of faith to transcend borders and unite humanity. As celebrations continue in Chicago, Peru, and beyond, the global Catholic family looks to the future with hope. In Rome, the lights of St. Peter's Square burn bright, a beacon of faith in a world that yearns for light. Across the world, Catholics and non-Catholics alike pray for their new leader, asking for wisdom, courage, and joy to guide his path. Media outlets continue to analyze the implications of this papacy. Scholars debate its impact on the Church's direction, and ordinary people share stories of how the Church has touched their lives, from baptisms in rural villages to charity drives in urban centers. The election of Pope Leo XIV is a call to reflect on the Church's mission, to be a field hospital, as Francis once said, healing the wounds of a broken world. Join us as this journey unfolds. Stay with Faith Watch for insights, reflections, and updates on Pope Leo XIV's papacy as he leads the Church into uncharted territory with a heart for the poor and a vision for unity.